Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Now I'm on the way to go and see a friend of mine, John from Summerhouse Sounds. Now he's got a pair of £16,000 Gershman speakers and they're hooked up to two Class D amplifiers that cost under £300 for the pair. And he tells me that they sound amazing together. So I'm going to go and check him out and check them out and make sure they're okay. Now, John has decades of experience in the music industry and he's been listening to music even longer. Now, if you haven't heard of Summerhouse Sounds, go and check him out online because John sells some exclusive equipment. And speaking to John, he does deals where possible, all year round.
Hello, I'm John Sim of Summerhouse Sounds. I've been running this business now since 2015. Took it up after I retired from my day job, which was in the IT industry, and enjoy myself immensely.
So I'm here admiring John's setup, which is a combination of Gold Note, Sofino and NAD, but most importantly, Gershman Acoustic and Fosi. So John, why did you set up Summerhouse Sounds?
Okay, well, in short and in brief, I retired from my day job, which was in the IT industry, but I'm not the sort of person to sit around doing nothing all day, so I decided I would find some sort of business I could do. One of my first loves outside of my family has always been music. I've supplied systems for so many friends and so many colleagues that I'd set up. I decided I would pursue that interest, both in music and the way that we hear it in the home. So Summerhouse Sounds was set up. I sold at that time a lot of project equipment, Unison Research, many other makes, but generally became dissatisfied with the distributors and the way they tended to act and deliver stuff. So I wanted to find some products that were not what I consider to be mundane. So Audio Pinnacle was set up. That key aim was for it to be a distribution company in the UK and bring in some more unusual products that perhaps weren't known here. And the first of those and the biggest of those was Gold Note initially. And I started bringing them in about 2017, 2018, it really got underway. Then during COVID, effectively, things got really difficult both for the dealers and for me. And I decided to get rid of the 15 dealers I'd had, and also the agreement came to an end with Gold Note. So I was on the hunt for more equipment that I felt was unusual and unique and offered both value for money and great sound. Those are the key drivers for me.
Okay, so John, what brands do you deal with at Summerhouse Sounds and why?
Okay, so the three major brands that I now deal in are Gershman Acoustics, these excellent speakers which come from Canada and are really exceptional value for money, which is important to me, incredibly important, but the sound quality is second to none. And I will put any of the equipment I sell up against things costing a great deal more and be happy that they'll not only hold their own, but more often not beat them. I also sell another Canadian set of products, Sofino, who make cables, turntables and tone arms, but also supply a great deal of the cable industry with products which are then OEM'd. Again, they just represent exceptional value for money and are truly great products that provide the sound quality I'm looking for and the value I insist on. Next, and last but not least, my new find, it's not fully organised yet, but I am looking to become a dealer and distributor for the Fosi products, which you're also looking at quite closely today, I know. I've been following D-Class products for quite a long time now with interest, and these little beauties impressed me a great deal, and I'm sure they will you as well.
What are the cables that you're using to power your speakers?
So the turntables and the cables are all made by Sofino. So that is their whole manufacturing. Again, they're a Canadian company, but it's basically all cables and turntables and tone arms. That's his passion.
Right, now I think it's time for a demo. Let's hear what John's system's made of. Switch it over, John.
Actually, it's not that badly synchronised, is it?
So John, you've got a lovely setup here. Can you just talk me through from sort of top to bottom what you've got here?
Okay, so we start with the new arrival in the UK, and in fact new arrival in Europe, the Ebby cartridge, which comes in a beautiful ebony wood hard shell casing, uses prime Japanese components, and is superb value and great quality sound, on a par with many of the Japanese cartridges that I've loved for such a long time.
Beautiful.
The turntable is a Sofino. This is the Copperhead, which is our starting turntable, if you like, in the Sofino range, but actually one of my favourites. I like the look of it, and the sound of it is sublime.
Beautiful.
The tone arm is also a Sofino product. It's called the Eichner, and again is a superb performing tone arm. But there are a range of 3 different types of tone arms available from Sofino. Then, of course, we have the Gershman Acoustics Avant Grande, which are, I think, probably my favourite speakers that I've had in a long time. They're great performers, don't take up a huge amount of room, but really offer great value and superb sound. The bass on them is quite astounding at times. You may look at them and think, how can such a small setup produce such great bass? But there's some very clever design involved, and again, it's a Canadian company. The cables, of course, are Sofino cables, and once again, this is the speciality of Sofino 1877. They are huge suppliers to other equipment manufacturers around the world, and really very impressive. On the floor are the 2 Fosi amps, small stereo or monoblock amps, depending on which facility you want to use. At the moment, they're in monoblock form, and they are driving the avant-gardes.
Incredible power.
Incredible power, yeah. And at a price point that, frankly, I would have considered insane just a few years ago.
I just sort of held my hand out here just so people have a reference of the size that we're looking at. Sometimes it's hard to pick that up on camera, but for how small they are, it's truly it's amazing.
I think the important thing about them, in my opinion, is that it gives people an entry level. If they want to start listening to their music with real quality behind it, it gives them an entry point that they can use. And if they're lacking in space, most of this Fosi equipment really doesn't take up a great deal of room, but provides superb quality sound and plenty of power. Good man.
Okay, John, so you've got a wealth of experience in the audio and hi-fi industry. You've been listening to music even longer. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on Class D amplifiers.
Okay, Class D amplifiers specifically came about a few years ago, and I had a listen to some of the earlier ones, and I could see the potential in them. A lot of power, not much room, don't get hot, all sorts of advantages, but I wasn't terribly impressed at the time with the sound quality. It was good, but probably mainly for in-car entertainment, audio systems at home for cinema and film and what have you. I could see all the benefits to that.
Yeah.
But I've kept an eye on it nonetheless. So recently, as you know, I decided to bite the bullet and buy in some Fosi equipment and have a listen, because I'd seen a lot of good reviews, YouTube channels similar to yours and others that just said, this is a brilliant little box, really good value. I thought, okay, I'll have a listen to myself. Absolutely. No. Yeah. It's a no-brainer, as it turns out. So I bought this stuff in 6-7 weeks ago now, and was deeply impressed, not just by the price point and the diminutive size, but the sheer quality that they're delivering now is quite undeniable. Anybody who says that they're not keeping up with AB and all the other formats that are out there are talking at the top of their heads. They were really so good.
What was the in the early days, what was the quality issues that you were hearing with early Class D amplifiers?
For me personally, it sort of comes from my first love, which is vinyl, as you know, and an analog approach. So I do find digital music a little bit flat at times, and I found the D class amps equally flat and uninspiring. So that included when I was playing vinyl through them. So there was no subtlety that I could detect. So I thought, yeah, they're great. You know, they provide a lot of power, but outside of that, for me personally, they weren't something I'd want to use in my system, because I'm very much a valve man. I love valves. So that meant they just didn't come into the equation, really. I'm not the sort of person who's interested in technical stuff, so I don't give a damn about the measurements and all that sort of stuff. Whatever I've listened to, it's always, how does it relay the music? Is there life in it? Is there character in it? Does it show the subtlety I want to pick up on or not? So the early versions, frankly, didn't. These impressed me from the offset. I just literally had that jaw-dropping moment where I'm thinking, really? These little things are producing this great output in terms of the volume, but also with a subtlety that I haven't heard on the D class and don't hear on a lot of AB amps, to be honest. So I was really impressed. I double check, because I always get customers, friends, people who are interested in music and the hi-fi world, obviously, because it's how we listen to our music, to have a listen. And the reaction was the same from everybody.
I think what I found really interesting when sitting with yourself, John, was and also your setup, and one of the main reasons why I've came out today is that you've paired these £16,000 speakers with these little Class D amplifiers, which is there's a huge taboo around having an amp that will match in terms of price and quality, your speakers and so on and so on. What's your views on that, and what was your view historically, and has your view changed?
Historically, I was one of those who always wanted the greatest, the latest, and the most expensive, so you could show off to your friends. But I did come to the conclusion a long time ago that the key elements of a system are three main things for me, really. First and foremost, the source. The source, whatever you choose, whether it's digital or analog, it has to be of the finest quality. Because rather like software writing, anything else, if you don't start with something good, you can't improve it as it goes along. So you start with the best that you can possibly get. And for me, all of my systems always did that. Even when I turned the clock back 40 years, I got the best cartridge for my vinyl, the best turntable I could afford, and then I would put cheaper equipment with it to make the best of it that I could, and then add to it if I needed. But I always insisted on the source being the very best possible. So really, I think if you look at a lot of these things, you have to wonder whether it's just good marketing by companies to say, oh, well, if this costs this, then this has got to cost the same. And by the way, you might as well buy that. And you end up with a ridiculously overpriced system. And you have to question, particularly as you get older and your hearing is not as effective as it used to be, am I really getting the best sound and best value for money? So my systems now are still based on great front end, which for me is vinyl still. So, that's a no-brainer for me. So it starts with the Abbey cartridge, which is one of the best cartridges I've heard in many, many years. And I then take the view that what you want to do with that signal is find something as inexpensive as possible to amplify the signal. And the amplifier really shouldn't be adding anything. And I was coherent to that back in the 70s when it started with manufacturers in the UK, British manufacturers saying, well, actually, do we really want tone controls? Do we want all this? Surely the job of the amp is to just take a signal, amplify it, and not add anything to it, because what's the point of the bands playing every note perfectly, the mastering being done and the pressing being done by, and of course that's pre-digital days, what is the point of doing that and then altering it all?
Yeah,
it is their view of perfection.
Yeah.
That's how it should come out on the record. Doesn't always happen, of course. Sometimes the mastering's off, but let's not get involved in that.
Yeah.
So that is really what impressed me about these amplifiers. They have the power that the avant-gardes need, because they do like power. They like a bit of current to draw down on. And in the past, I've had to use pretty expensive amplifiers to get that sort of power and that sort of quality. These things blew me away because they're inexpensive, but they do exactly what they need to do, which is give the Gershman acoustic speakers the power they need to produce a great sound. And so I've been happy with them. Hence, they've been sat in my system, and I've been listening to them solid now for 7-8 weeks. And I still smile every time I hear it.
What amplification was you using before?
Anything you like. I am lucky enough to have the ability to use not only equipment that I have collected since I was about 15, which includes my first 1960s valve amp from Leek, but right up to very expensive £20,000-30,000 sets of valve monoblocks, which I still love.
Yeah.
They are great.
I guess for the audience, and there is something called recency bias that sometimes happens when you plug in something new. You kind of only remember what you last sort of listened to.
Yeah.
So I am curious to what amplification did you have before you put in the Class D monoblocks, and you know, what was that experience like going from whatever that was and whatever price point that was to these Class D amps that you got in?
At that point, I have nearly always used my monoblocks for my personal listening, because I like valves, and I'm still searching for a good valve set of amplifiers to bring into the UK, because I just love that sound.
Yeah.
And I also had access, obviously, to some pretty big gold note power amps, which was still in my possession, which I also use. So AB mainly. Yeah. And the first thing I really noticed was the ability of these little D-class amps to outpower even the Class A amps. So the Class A valves that I'm using produce about 20 watts. Yeah. But it's not about the wattage output, it's about the current that they feed. Yeah. So they do still provide a lot of current. So the first thing was the volume control could be a lot lower than it needed to be with the monoblocks. The sound quality, definitely different. I still favour the valve sound, as does every electric guitarist that's ever lived. They still use valve amps, although things are changing even there, I believe. But what impressed me was the difference was minimal. Yeah. And this is what my real point is with most people who are looking for a good home-based hi-fi system where you've got all sorts of shortcomings, from the layout of your room to the music and source you're using to listen to. So it's always been a question of how much difference is there in the performance and the sound quality, and if you like it, how much more are you prepared to spend on it? Rather like a car, you've got that 20 extra bhp, you spend an extra 20 grand to get it. Do you really want it? Do you really need it? Or does the car do a perfectly job as it is? And if you want to pay the difference, I would never stop anybody paying the difference. My point would be that actually maybe you need to open your ears and realise that the differential is not that great. And therefore, if you're on a budget and it doesn't jump out at you, and you're not lucky enough like me to have access to all this kit to do the comparison, you should just give them a try.
Give them a go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you've enjoyed today's video, subscribe to the channel so you can get all of the latest and greatest content. Thank you.